Well, let's talk now to Aleesha Hansel, who's an international wine judge and wine writer. Good to see you again, Aleesha. Thanks for joining us. So as we were hearing that report, people in France are drinking less wine. Why do you think that is?
Yeah, I mean, that actually follows a global trend that we're seeing, mainly to do kind of with the youth really not wanting to drink, with kind of this wellness and sober curious trend has really kind of increased. I think also it's to do with tradition. You know, we heard in that BT that parents would drink with dinner, and we kind of lost that, I think. So it's a global trend, unfortunately, for people like me, at least.
So it is a global trend, perhaps, but there are other markets outside of France, aren't there? Our reporter there mentioned the Chinese market. How important are other markets like the Chinese market for these winemakers?
Yeah, so China is actually the 8th largest wine consuming country in the world. So very important. You know, there's a real ability to kind of boost wine drinkers in the Chinese market that hasn't really been touched upon at the moment. Kind of 2012 was really the peak of consumption of wine in China. And since then, it's really gone down on a downslide. Actually, last year, there was a 20% decrease in wine consumption in 2021. So there is an ability there for China to be a real leader on the stage. It's just we've not quite got there yet, sadly.
So what kind of wines are popular in China, and what's the importance of the kind of brand that's popular for the Chinese consumer?
So semantically, the word wine in China actually translates to red wine. So red wine is about 80% of sales in China. White wine is lagging a bit behind, but there's real growth potential in that space. Also, we heard in that BT, kind of lower alcohol, refreshing things. I think that's a real space that it can grow as well.
I was talking to a winemaker recently who told me that they personally were having to change the way they made their own wine to appeal to China. How are winemakers adapting what they have to offer to appeal to different markets?
Yeah, that's all to do with kind of palates. I think traditionally we've had a very Western appeal when it comes to palates. You know, we saw that with the parkerization of Bordeaux. It became quite heavy, alcoholic, kind of big and bold. And stereotypically, the Chinese palate is a little bit more refined than that, more elegant. They like lighter styles. So that's what we're hearing now, is kind of this movement into lighter alcohol, which actually also works with the trend that we're seeing globally to try and get people to drink wine.
What about homegrown production? How's China's own homemade wine doing, both in the country and will we see it outside of China?
Yeah, so it's currently about 27th in the world for exports. Now, there's a real potential here because it's actually only second to Spain in terms of acreage, vines under acreage, although most of that is for table grapes. But I think what the issue is with China is just getting it out there, getting the word out there. There's a very small number of large producers in China, so everything that they do individually actually has a very big ripple. So I think they really need to focus on getting the word out there, on understanding new trends that they can jump on, such as organic or biodynamic, low intervention. I think also really is to get other people to understand appellation. It's really key. You know, that's how we get into premiumization. Many people can name appellations in Bordeaux off the top of their head. People outside of China really kind of struggle to understand appellations outside of Ningxia, really. So I think that is really key in pushing the domestic market.
Aleesha, great to talk to you. Thank you for joining us today. That's Aleesha Hansel, the international wine judge and wine writer.